Everybody, Dark Lord Fluffy here, and I'd like to introduce you to a new show called Meet Your Masters of D&D, where I go ahead and interview different dungeon masters from all over the world and ask them what makes them tick and what makes them be a good dungeon master to their players. And through that journey, we'll find out a lot of cool stuff. So this first episode is with Jared. Unfortunately, the video is kind of meh, but it was due to the fact that we use Skype, and now since then I've won over to a new app, new program called Zoom Meetings, or Zoom.me, which is a very good streaming for video and stuff like that. So it's really kind of cool. It's really good HD quality video between me and them. So depending on your connection, a lot of fun stuff. But thank you for coming and watching this video, and I hope you enjoy it. And now on to the interview with Jared. Hope you enjoy. Welcome everybody to the first episode of Meet Your Master of D&D. I have Jared. Is that right?
Yep.
I have Jared here, who is a dungeon master for how long?
Since July, so about 9 months.
Okay. How many campaigns have you ran?
We're still on our first one. We started in the starter set, and that's comes with 4 parts for 5th edition, 4-part starter set, and we're in part 5 now, so we're completely in, my custom territory at this point in concluding that. But
oh, cool. So you guys are right at the precipice of the actual playing the campaign of itself, what they've given you.
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll just go ahead and get started on the questions that people on the forum and everything else have wanted to know mostly, the stuff that I've added. So first one, since you've only been playing one system, your preferred system to play in would be 5th edition, right?
Yeah. It was really easy to pick up, actually. One of the things that deterred me in the past was just hearing how complicated everything was.
3.5, don't worry.
Yeah. But I heard it, I listened to a podcast. It was actually Stuff You Should Know. They did an episode on Dungeons & Dragons. Mm-hmm. And me and a couple other my friends heard the same episode, and it finally dawned on me. I was like, oh, this is totally something that sounds like it's checking all my boxes. It's all my favorite things, and so we tried it out and loved it. I am thinking about. I've got a bunch of, I'm a writer, so I'm constantly coming up with story ideas, and I have. I'm really interested in Shadowrun. Eventually, taking a foray into a cyberpunk campaign and stuff like that too. So I'm definitely not D&D only, but
and that's the cool thing about this system is the 5th edition system. They've actually made it so you could take it into the punk version to the. Actually, I think a lot of people, someone actually took it and actually made it into a kind of like steampunk.
Yeah.
Where you can put cyberx and everything with it. There's a lot of
there's
D10
resources.
systems. But, okay, so so I think since you did the whole system with the starter, now did you do the roll or did you allow them to do the point buy? Which one did you use?
In large part, I left it up to them, but just to keep things simple, we just did a straight roll for characters.
4d6, keep the lowest or keep the highest.
Yep.
That's not bad. That's what I did. I actually did the 4 highest and ended up having characters who were overpowered in the campaign I'm doing now. So it's really fun to throw CP 10s at them and they're wasting it like nothing. So it also kills you because you're like, what am I supposed to do? What's your take on the doing a homebrew campaign versus you are doing the campaign in the book? So have you looked at any of the homebrew stuff and are you gonna situate gonna go next campaign you do gonna become more of a homebrew?
Definitely, yeah. And I think that's part of the nature of just my entry into role playing games is definitely fiction first. I played video games, Skyrim, Mass Effect, all that, sort of help me understand role-playing games in general and how the mechanics work. But I'm such a story guy, and a lot of times when I say that online in groups or whatever, people hear oh, it's all about the story, and they think that it's easy to assume that means railroading and corridors, and no, you have to fit my story to make it work. But I'm actually a lot more about a conversation between me and the players, where I set up like the setting and situation, and they provide all of the action and drama and everything.
Yeah.
And it becomes a lot more of an act of creative discovery than me holding their hand and dragging them through a bunch of plot points.
So you're an RP person. You want that RP in your games.
Yeah, because it makes it more fun for me, because it's less about, showing off for my friends and because I get to do plenty of that anyway, as far as creating cool things to happen. But the more unpredictable it is for me, the more fun I get to have too, because I have no idea what's going to happen. So I really dig that. So like, as far as that goes, I'm not opposed to pre-written campaigns, obviously. Really enjoyed the starter set, helped me get my feet wet and everything. But I tend to modify and react to what the players do so heavily that it's gradually gone from, all starter set material to half and half, because incorporating things that players' decisions and characterization and stuff, to the point now where we're, I'm using the setting and like dungeons and locations and stuff still from the starter set.
Yeah.
But I've gotten, I've trapped them in a time loop, and there's a giant goat running.
To
do. There's so much crazy going on that's just not part of the book at this point. So really liking that.
So you're mixing what the campaign books are, plus you add a little bit of homebrew to it to basically give it its own little snippet.
Yeah. Well,
okay.
like for one of my players, he's actually my brother. He came up with this organization that his character's part of, called the Order of the Founders. That rather than there were a couple NPCs that were listed as being part of the Lord's Alliance, and to incorporate his backstory into the world.
Oh, I lost you. We lost you. No, Skype, don't be that way. Okay, so I got you. I lost you there for a minute. Skype is a bitch sometimes. I had you at the part you said your brother campaign, 2 guys who were part of the Lord.
Okay. Some of the NPCs, I was just explaining how I had modified the pre-written material. So, took the organization that my brother's character was a part of, and took a couple of the NPCs that were part of the Lord's Alliance and just put them in his group instead. And it's grown to be a pretty big plot element in the story from something that was basically just a minor detail when we started.
Okay, that's actually kind of cool. Sorry, I was double checking to make sure I had the signal was good and everything. We're all good.
Okay.
So so we'll go to the next question. What got you into wanting to be the dungeon master for your guys' campaign?
I think, there's a lot of answers I could give to that question. Probably the biggest one was back when I heard about it last year, heard about 5th edition, and started to understand more clearly what a role-playing game is, and being fairly new to it, but at least in the tabletop setting. When I started thinking, man, this really sounds like, I love art, I love maps, I love storytelling, I love games, I love, all these things that that I'm really into. I've always been really interested in game design, and so that really leaned me more heavily toward running the game than just playing it. But in practical terms, I wanted to play it and wanted to try it out. And so I thought the easiest way for me to do that, rather than going around begging somebody else to, take on the responsibility of running a game, I just figured I'll just do it and convince people to play the game. And we loved it so much. I love DMing and they love playing. So it's worked out.
Well, that's awesome. So how many people are in your group?
We started off with 4, and then added in we lost one because he had to go to school, and so I had to explain his character's absence. He just sort of like ran away for a while. He was a rogue too, so that worked out. Then we added another one, and then Zach, the guy who went to school, came back. And then one of my other friends who'd been playing NPCs for a while, just like really, really wanted to play. And he'd already built like 14 characters.
Oh, yeah.
So he joined in, and then our other edition left. So at this point, we have 5.
Okay, so that's a good amount of people.
Which feels, yeah, it feels pretty full. And so I've sort of had to cut like some character side quests, pare those down a little bit so we could manage, what was actually happening. But yeah, I feel like we're at capacity, but we're doing good.
Five's a big number for most people, even brand new DMs. Like at first I had 5, and then we lost one. Now we're at 4. Even 4 is kind of a lot for most. Usually 3 to 4 is what your group size you want to be. Once you get to 5, 6, 7, 8, unless you're doing stuff like Critical Role and you actually have like a lot of cast or a lot of RP players, which I really would like to have a lot more RP in my games, but again, you got to go with the players. Some like the kit, some like the smash, and then also find the time being a dad and being a working third shift. So everything's kind of like up in the air. So how do you handle like secrets and other inner party confrontations that if you have 2 players that are supposed to have a secret together, but they don't necessarily know how to keep it between just them?
We haven't had a ton of secrets between players or characters yet. In general, my group is really good about not metagaming. So even if the players know something, they're really good at acting like their characters don't know it. So if 2 of the characters have a conversation in a language nobody else knows, we all have a laugh about it and move on with, the story according to what their characters would know.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate that. Most of the secrets, that we've had have been between me and individual players, trying to set up, okay, what's your backstory? What's, like for instance, our dwarf cleric, my friend Dave, he, in his backstory, was part of a mercenary band and was ordered to assassinate this fugitive prince that they captured. And so that's sort of like sets up his backstory, something he's ashamed of, that, and so he became a cleric in order to one day hopefully be able to resurrect him, like be powerful enough to bring him back to life and put him back on the throne and all sorts of stuff like that. So that's something that he and I knew about for months before any of the other players did. And for instance, like with my rogue, when I asked him to explain his absence, because none of the other characters knew why he left, he was like, well, like we just took out a thieves guild in Phandalin, and so he's like, I would, my character would probably see that as an opportunity, and so he explained it as running around building his own thieves guild to replace, in the power vacuum, which I thought was a great idea. So I spent a while with him working up the backstory for, how his guild would operate and how it would make money and all sorts of stuff like that. So that's been a lot of fun.
All right, one more question because it's almost 10 till. What time is it there? What time you got?
It's 5:47, so I can probably go for another 5 or 6 minutes.
Okay, so we'll do a last question because again, this is unfortunately, it was my fault for all this big stuff going on. But let me go through the ones that I know that. So I think there's a lot of stuff that I've been hearing from you about your whole game. You don't really have a lot of like your metagaming is kind of put down to. But how do you guys how do you handle the metagame in your game? And the second would be, how do you figure out, like, on top of like your monsters that they fight, are you just going off the book, or do you add stuff in too?
I've definitely been adding stuff in. I'll take the metagaming question first. In general, I haven't had to throw down a gauntlet or anything about like, stop metagaming, you're breaking everything because you know too much or something. I think I've really appreciated we all share a priority of, the story making sense and having real challenges and being surprised. We're so entertained. We're sometimes more entertained when things go horribly wrong than when everything goes right. So, like for instance, our my friend Kyle, he's a sociopathic elf sorcerer.
That's cool.
And yeah, he's real helpful. He likes to light things on fire. He's really awesome about letting me mess with his character. Triggering wild magic and stuff at the worst times. And he turned blue at our very first fight with the goblin ambush, and he was blue for months before he finally managed to remove that curse. And so little things like that where I don't really have to. I haven't had to put down a rebellion or anything as far as like metagaming goes. With monsters, though, I think the first two books I got was the Player's Guide, the Monster Manual, and then the group got me the Dungeon Master's Guide and Volos. And
quick question: how do you like Volos? That's the real big thing.
I really like it. It's really helpful. I'm a big world building guy, so like digging into obscure and difficult to roleplay monsters, especially when they're like, this monster is so intelligent that it looks at intelligent creatures like they're squirrels or something, and it's like, okay, I think that's a really cool idea, but how would I actually roleplay that, because I'm not actually this alien super intelligence.
Talk to everyone like they're dumb. Like they're little kids, and be like, when you yell at your kid about doing something wrong, that's exactly how that creature would talk to anybody.
Yeah,
I mean, that's the way I've always seen it, as the adult talking to a small child, trying to let them know they're an idiot.
Yeah.
Which I don't know.
But I mean, but with the, it not only has role playing advice and stuff like that, but also, sort of a blueprint for a beholder lair, or like what that would be like and stuff. And I'm a big map maker and stuff like that. So for me, I just like eat that up, and the world building elements and stuff, but also the playable races and all sorts, those elements. Like there's a tabaxi in a side campaign that I run when not everybody can make it. Yeah. Dave played a Kenku Bard at a TPK session that Kyle actually ran, gave me a chance to play not too long ago. So we've really been enjoying it, all the extra stats and stuff.
All right, that's awesome. So we're actually time limit is up, and I don't want to get you any later, but thank you for coming on. You are the first episode of awesome. Meet Your Master of D&D. I hope everyone enjoyed this. If you did, please leave a like, comment. Let me know what you want to ask a dungeon master, so we can add those into the next episodes. I will have you back on in a future episode where I'm getting a bunch of the interviews, and we're all going to sit down and do a kind of like a round table. So
okay, awesome.
I'll get a bunch of you guys on, so we talk about like Volo's Guide or what you need this. But thank you again for coming out. Hopefully,
thanks for having me.
Hopefully this goes good, where we can get a lot more people and a lot more things, and hopefully soon enough I want to try to do a live stream of it with a bunch of people, so we can actually get it on like Twitch and stuff. But
cool.
It should be up within, I would say, about less than a week. But if the faster I can get it up, you'll be probably the first one to see it, just to show you what it looks like. But thank you guys for coming out. Hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you next time on Meet Your Master of D&D.